Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Kevin McMahon with Bear Creek Honey, and this is Adventures in Beekeeping. Today, what we're what we're going to be talking about is fixing a couple of production hives that aren't doing so well. Yesterday, I was out and it inadvertently rained on us. It wasn't supposed to, but it did. But we were out here checking. I was checking the hives for honey production, and some of my hives are doing quite well with the honey. But I went into a couple of hives. There's this one here. As you can see, it only has one brood box and one honey super, and then this middle one over here with one brood box and one honey super. And I was noticing the lack of bees going in the entry. Now if you can see the tall one here with the amount of activity that's going in it, and the one to my far right also has a lot of activity, but the other two do not. So I went into this hive here to check it out. Now this one I had shook out. I had a second brood box on it in June, and I shook it down into one brood box in the middle of June because it just didn't seem like it was doing anything. Honestly, there wasn't even any brood in the second brood box. So I shook it down, and then I put a super on it just so that the brood at the time could hatch, and there was a capped brood in there. Well, flash forward to today. Today's July 2nd, but yesterday was July 1st. I went in there to take a look. Now I haven't really torn that hive apart per se in quite a long time, but I went in there and started pulling frames, and it was there was no cap brood, and every other cell that had a larvae in it also had nectar in it. So it was a very spotty brood pattern. Why, I don't know. Why there was no capped brood anywhere was another perplexing thing to me. The queen was in there, found her. She's just not doing very well. So I went and checked that hive, doing very well. Obviously, got a second super on it, and producing lots of honey. Now that one, I opened it up. First thing I noticed was there was no bees in the honey super, and that's especially we're right here in the middle of our nectar flow. I'm 10 feet from a very, very large 20-acre clover field, full of flowers, and there's no bees in the honey super. So that set off alarms, and then I just hefted the box real quick, and there was no weight to it whatsoever. None. And I was just, uh-oh, something's definitely wrong here. So popped it open, and it was quite obvious after going through it that it had swarmed at some point in time. There was no queen, no brood. There was some queen cells in there. Half the bees that probably should have been in there were in there. So and there was no honey either. They took the honey, and either that or it swarmed and then it got robbed out by one of these two hives, which very well could happen. I don't see any evidence of any dead bees out front, but I can't preclude that from that. So those two hives, and I knew going in that those two hives were my two weakest hives. That one there was a strong second brood box. I shook it down about a week ago into one hive box, and then put the second brood box on top, put the honey super on, and that top brood box is half capped larva, and the other half is being backfilled with honey. So what I did was I went there this morning, and I picked up two of the nukes, two of the four. The one that I couldn't find the queen in, but it looks like it has eggs and larvae and everything. I'm going to bring over here and I'm going to give them to these hives. I also brought a nuke from home that has an active queen. So what my plan is today is to first of all, I'm going to go into uh, the hive I'm almost 100% positive had swarmed, and I'm going to take off the honey super, and I'm going to lay some paper down, and I'm going to bring out my nuke with my queen from my home apiary. It's in a 4-frame nuke. I'm going to pull out those, and I'm going to set a box on, and I'm going to give them there. I'm going to set some paper down with the queen excluder, and I'm going to give them that hive. They'll chew through the paper, and that queen can be laying in there, and we'll get that hive back going again. Now it's still got quite a few bees in it, so that should aid that queen in getting started. Um, this hive over here, um, it has obviously a queen in it, so I'm going to go in there after I install this one. I'm going to go in there and take that queen out, and I'm going to give them the box with all the brood and the larvae and the eggs and everything. And if there is a queen in there, well, she can go to town, and if not, they'll have the resources to make their own queen if that's the case. So, and if I'll be looking for the queen, obviously, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to combine it with paper, but first thing I have to do is get the queen out of there. I'm going to take the queen with me. I'm going to put her in a nuke box, and and I'm also going to take any queen cells that I find. There was also supersedure cells in that hive. They weren't the best looking supersedure cells in the world, but I'm going to take those out of that hive as well. I'm going to take that queen with me, and there was emergency cells in that one. I'm going to take those out when I give them my new queen. So this is going to be quite a project going on here. So we're going to get set up. I'm going to set the camera up, and we'll get going. Well, I was going to set this back here, but boy, this tree is really in the way. Like I said, there's bees in here, but not too many of them. And of course, oh, here it is. I'll probably end up fast forwarding over a lot of this so that you don't get too awful bored with me. There it is. They're going to be a little ornery this morning, I'm thinking. The downside to having this apiary inside of under a canopy of trees is that there is very little daylight. See, this was a honey frame, and there's no honey left in it. It's pretty well all eaten out. That's a pretty good indication that you either A, got robbed out, or B, it swarmed on you. I should have been paying better attention to this. I really should have. Now see, now there are all my queen cells right there. Alright? And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, there's one fully capped queen cell and two half capped queen cells. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this frame and I'm going to put it in a nuke with all the bees. Now hopefully okay. There wasn't that many in there. Okay. Okay. She is. There she is. There's my nice red Carniolan queen. Can't remember where we were at, but I gave these guys a little bit of smoke. This guy's sticking up his nasonoff gland. I don't know why, but so yeah, I'm gonna give him a high. Imagine that. Look at all the bees in the honey super now. Oh, dang it. Oh well. Okay. Let's just out of curiosity. Funny thing was there wasn't any bees up here before yesterday. And this is, yeah, they're up here, but there's a little bit of nectar in here, but that's it. Plenty of bees. So I'm boosting this hive with a new queen, and well, she's already laid brood, so we got 5 frames, or 4, maybe 3 frames of brood. And this is a very, very, very ornery hive. Yesterday I got stung. Or was it the day before? But regardless, this is an extremely ornery hive. Probably because they haven't been able to do hardly anything here. 16th, that's when I got it as a nuke, and I installed it, and it was a 5-frame nuke. And here is this frame. Doesn't have a thing on it, and that's a month and a half. All right, that's 1 frame. Second frame, not a thing. Third frame, they barely have started to draw it out. And there's queen cups in there, and I'm just checking them here. Nothing in them. Spotty brood pattern, you see that? Let's hope, let me take this over. Here's a spotty brood pattern here. Nectar, larvae here, larvae there, but nectar in between, just not very good at all. So that's why, and here you can see, even on this side here, not very good at all. Oh, come on, where are you, lady? I'm not going to do this one many times. Nice to find her. Someone first yesterday. Okay, that's again. No choice. No eggs. This is the nuke that I cannot find the queen to save my life. But I know she's in there. And if I can find her, I'm going to mark her butt because she is very hard to find. But there are eggs in here. And brand new eggs. And larvae. And this one's not drawn out here at all. But this side is all laid up. Completely laid up. So she was just here. I just wish I knew what she looked like. She's very, very shy. She's very, very shy. Okay. This one's all laid up. Honey around the outside, perfect frame. Boy, I wish I could find her. There she is. Oh, I'll be damned. She's marked. I don't remember finding her or marking her. But there she is, nonetheless. Okay. But anyways, this hive now has a nice, good queen, nice laying queen. And lots of bees. I'm actually going to put a third super on. Well, actually right now I think. This is so active, it's just unbelievable the amount of honey that they're bringing in, these two hives, working side by side in tandem. So really kind of enjoying this. This is from a package, actually, or two packages, if you remember right. But they are up here pretty heavy. But you can kind of see they are really working this hard. Let's this is full of nectar, very full of nectar. So I'm going to give this one another super, just because I just don't want them to run out of room. I'm actually going to give them the super that I had from the other, that I took off the other hive, which was drawn out pretty well. So yeah, I got these two are probably 90% full, probably about 60% full, and then I just gave them this new one. This one I'm going to give a super to. It's ready. Okay. I'll come back and check on those 2 hives that I installed new queens in probably about 4 or 5 days. They should be well through the paper and well on their way. But it just goes to show you what having nucleus colonies around, how that can help you with your production hives, with a failing queen or a swarm, or you know, whatever. A queen just dies. What I mean, you just don't know. But it's always good to have. That's what these resource hives are for. Not only for, you know, in the springtime to help you replace queens or whatever, or hives that didn't make it, but heck, during the middle of the year, in the middle of a flow, why not? That's exactly what they're for. If I can get those two hives to start producing and become viable, who knows? I might end up getting honey out of them. I highly doubt it, but you just never know. So just keep that in the back of your mind. You know, you learn a lot from guys like Michael Palmer, and at least I do, anyways. So I'm just trying to think of everybody. You know, Jason, JC's Bees. He's another guy that I follow religiously. Ian Stepler. Now there's a guy that I also follow from Manitoba. You know, he's the one that's got me into this single hive management thing going on. You know, those 2 hives that failed, it had nothing to do with the shaking the bees down. I mean, there was no bees actually up in those second boxes, which is why I shook them down to begin with in those 2 hives. These 2 hives, I shook them down because we're past the summer solstice, and you saw that video about the summer solstice in my single hive management video. I'm not sure what episode that was, but you can check it out. Anyways, things are going well. Like I said, I'm probably gonna, you know, I don't know, I'll probably get a couple 100 pounds of honey out of this year, maybe a little more. And these are all this first year's hives. I might even get up to 300 pounds of honey. We'll see. But anyways, till next time, happy beekeeping, people.